cards right. Come on and get your game on.
Ah, the Destiny Heroes. The deck of Aster Phoenix in the anime, and also created by his father, who was
mysteriously kidnapped.
They were made to be the darker, anti-hero inspired counterparts to the more traditional superhero inspired elemental heroes, something reflected in their dark typing. Destiny Heroes have always had a place in the competitive scene of Yu-Gi-Oh!, but more so for individually strong cards rather than their synergy as an archetype as a whole. It wasn't until the release of their first wave of legacy support, all the way down the line during Arc 5, that they became a more viable deck of their own right. We've got a ton of stuff to cover today, nearly as much as the first video, so let's not waste any more time, shall we? Oh, a special shout out to the Phoenix Enforcer line, basically proto-Destiny heroes, which we already covered in the first video, so we won't be talking about them here. Okay, for real this time. We start things off with Destiny hero Doomlord, the first one ever seen in the anime. He's a level 3 Dark Warrior with 600 attack and 800 defense and the following effect. Once per turn, you can target one monster your opponent controls, banish that target. You cannot declare an attack the turn you activate this effect. You must control this face-up attack position card to activate and resolve this effect. The banished monster returns to the opponent's side of the field in the same battle position during your second standby phase after activation. Doomlord's an interesting case, because while his removal effect wasn't anything special for the time, it actually could be considered quite good nowadays. If it weren't for the fact that he'll likely use up your turn's normal summon and cut off your battle phase. Not a great trade-off for such powerful removal, rendering his usefulness kind of null and void. Still though, as you'll come to see, he's not the worst the original wave had to offer back in the day. Maybe Tech 1 if you're feeling silly. Captain Tenacious is a level 3 Dark Warrior with 800 attack and 800 defense, and his effect reads, once per turn during your standby phase, you can target one Destiny hero monster in your graveyard that was destroyed by battle since your last standby phase. If you controlled this face-up card when the target was destroyed, special summon that target. His effect is reliant on keeping him on the field for multiple turns, which is just something that isn't going to happen for such a weak stat spread with no protection effect to speak of. Even then, it only revives the Destiny hero destroyed by battle, so any usefulness it might have had a chance at having is pretty much moot. Diamond Dude is a level 4 Dark Warrior with 1400 attack and 1600 defense, and once per turn, you can excavate the top card of your deck, and if it is a normal spell, send it to the graveyard, otherwise place it on the bottom of your deck. During the main phase of your next turn, you can activate the effect of that spell card in your graveyard, even if you no longer control this face-up card. Here we have one of our aforementioned meta-relevant cards, for almost every reason other than being a Destiny hero. Diamond Dude's ability to activate the effect of spells without paying their cost made him a very powerful monster in slower formats. And he even sees play every so often for it today, too. He's still a great card to tech into any hero deck if you can spare the room, in my opinion. We're taking a weird detour here just to talk about one specific spell card because it's sort of relevant for upcoming cards we're going to be talking about. Clock Tower Prison is a field spell, and once per turn, during your opponent's standby phase, place one clock counter on this card. While there are 4 or more clock counters on this card, you do not take any battle damage. If this card with 4 or more clock counters is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, special summon one Destiny hero Dreadmaster from your hand or deck. Obviously the relic of an older and slower format of Yu-Gi-Oh!, the card offered some really great protection to your life points for the time if you could keep it around long enough to get it to that point. Back row removal wasn't super readily available back then, so you may have actually had a chance to get it to that level, and if you did, you got a free monster if it was destroyed. Unfortunately, nowadays, the mythical turn 4 is pretty rare in modern competitive Yu-Gi-Oh!, but you could maybe still make it work in some casual stall variants. Why am I talking about a field spell already? Well, it's relevant to the next card we have to talk about. That being the aforementioned Destiny hero Dreadmaster. He's a level 8 Dark Warrior monster with unknown attacking defense points, and if this card is special summoned by Clock Tower Prison, destroy all monsters you control, except Destiny hero monsters. Also, after that, you can special summon up to 2 Destiny hero monsters from your graveyard. After this card is summoned, for the rest of this turn, Destiny hero monsters you control cannot be destroyed. Also, you take no battle damage when they battle. The attack and defense of this card are equal to the combined original attack of all other Destiny hero monsters you control. Now, obviously, the summon from the deck effect is not something you'll be pulling off too often, even if it is pretty strong revival. His other effects, though, make him a perfect target for cards like Call of the Haunted, or a certain Link monster we'll discuss later. He makes your Destiny heroes, and life points if a Destiny hero is attacked, totally invulnerable for the rest of the turn, and he gets to be a big beat stick on top of that. I've had plenty of fun playing this card using stuff like trade-in and revival effects, so give him a go if you want to surprise your opponent with a surprisingly decently aged effect. Next up, we have Destiny Hero Departed. He's a level 2 Dark Warrior monster with 1000 attack and 0 defense. During your standby phase, if this card is in your graveyard, special summon it in face-up attack position to your opponent's side of the field. If this card is destroyed by battle, banish it instead of sending it to the graveyard. If a card effect would send this card to the graveyard from the hand or deck, banish it instead. Well, despite being one of the few cards that causes an infinite loop, look it up, we don't have time to explain that here, it's not like it's any good. The only way you're gonna get this guy in the graveyard is if you discard him as part of a cost, and even then, giving your opponent a free monster isn't really a great idea these days anyway. I guess you could beat over it with a powerful monster for free damage if you're in a really tight spot. I would pass on this. Destiny Hero Defender is a dark level 4 warrior monster with 100 attack and 2700 defense, and during each of your opponent's standby phases, your opponent draws one card. This card must be in face-up defense position to activate and resolve this effect. He's a big wall, but he turns your opponent's draw phase into a pot of greed. Yeah, let's not waste any more time on this guy. You know you're bad when you make Mudball Man look good by comparison. Double Dude is a level 6 Dark Warrior monster with 1000 attack and defense, and he cannot be special summoned. This card can attack twice during each battle phase. During your standby phase, if this card was destroyed since your last standby phase, you can special summon 2 Double Dude tokens, which are level 4 Dark Warriors with 1000 attack and defense. This card must be in your graveyard to activate and resolve this effect. There are inklings of a good card here, hypothetically, but it's weighed down by a few things. Being a 1000 attack level 6 for one, but also that you have to wait a turn to actually get the tokens, and only after battle destruction. And for some reason, you can't special summon him because Aster's dad hated him. If this was just a warrior-type dandelion, it would be a much better card, regardless of the level. But alas, he is not. Also, the double attacking is pretty pointless on a stat line like this. Now we've reached our second major boss monster, Destiny Hero Dogma. He's a level 8 Dark Warrior monster with 3400 attack points and 2400 defense points, and he cannot be normal summoned or set. He must be special summoned from your hand by tributing 3 monsters, including at least 1 Destiny Hero monster. Once per turn, if you still control this face-up card during your opponent's next standby phase after you special summoned it this way, have your opponent's life points. On paper, he seems pretty bad. 3 tributes is hefty, but thankfully he's a special summon to make up for it somewhat. It's unfortunate that all he does is half the opponent's life points, and only if you can keep him around until your next turn, but I still kinda love him. He's a big-ass motherfucker with a respectable attack stat that could potentially cut someone down by 4,000. It's stupid and gimmicky, but I absolutely love that. Destiny Hero Blade Master is a level 3 Dark Warrior with 300 attack and 600 defense, and during your opponent's battle phase, you can discard this card. All face-up Destiny Hero monsters you control gain 800 attack until the end phase. Hand traps have really come a long way, haven't they? While it might have been a decent tech choice a decade ago, these days we have Honest Neos to cover stuff like this. Still, a valiant, if wasted effort. Destiny Hero Fearmonger is a level 4 Dark Warrior with 1000 attack and defense, and during your standby phase, if this card is in your graveyard because it was destroyed by battle and sent there since your last standby phase, target 1 Destiny Hero monster in your graveyard except Destiny Hero Fearmonger, special summon that target. Well, he's better than Captain Tenacious. This one's in a similar boat to Double Dude, where the revival effect wouldn't be all that bad if battle destruction effects weren't inherently slow, and if it didn't take until the next turn to activate. Sad to say that for the time, this was about as good of a revival effect Destiny Heroes could get. The biggest benefit of Fearmonger is that you could revive a Destiny Hero of any level, which could maybe see some interesting plays, but I wouldn't get your hopes up and just run Call of the Haunted like a normal person. Destiny Hero Dasher is a level 6 Dark Warrior with 2100 attack and 1000 defense, and once per turn, you can tribute 1 other monster. This card gains 1000 attack until the end phase. If this card attacks, change it to defense position at the end of the battle phase. One time only, when you draw a monster card during your draw phase while this card is in your graveyard, you can reveal it, special summon it. This card must be in the graveyard to activate and resolve this effect. There's a lot to unpack here, but I'll say this. If you make Necroshade look objectively useful by comparison, you're doing something wrong. The attack buff to 3100 would be amazing on a level 6 for the time, but it comes at a hefty tribute cost for only one turn of usage. The position change is about as much of a situational anime effect as you can get, and seriously, what the hell is up with the draw phase special summon effect? What is this, rank up magic the 7th one? Destiny Hero Disc Commander is a level 1 Dark Warrior with 300 attack and 300 defense. Cannot be special summoned from the graveyard the turn this card was sent to the graveyard. If this card is special summoned from the graveyard, you can draw 2 cards. You can only use this effect once per duel. But wait, that's not right. Shouldn't this be something else? Indeed, this card used to be banned and received an errata not too long ago. Its old effect was just a non-once per turn draw 2 if revived effect, with no extra restriction. So you can imagine how many loops loved this guy. His ban was very justified. But even today, at a hard once per duel, I'd say a free 2 draws is worth running this card as a one-off. Destiny Hero Dread Servant is a level 3 Dark Warrior with 400 attack, 700 defense. If this card is normal summoned, place 1 clock counter on each clock tower prison. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can target 1 spell and trap you control and destroy that target. Obviously meant to work with Clock Tower Prison and activate its floating effect by itself, which for the time might have not been too bad of an idea, but it's definitely not going to see any use today. Destiny Hero Dunker is a level 4 Dark Warrior monster with 1200 attack and 1700 defense. You can send 1 Destiny Hero card from your hand to the graveyard and inflict 500 damage to your opponent. Are we sure this is a Destiny Hero card? He was played a total of 3 times in the anime, and I don't think anyone remembers he even exists. Well, it's not a hard once per turn burn effect, so I guess if any madmen out there want to try and create Dunker Burn Loop FTK, now's your chance. Destiny Hero Malicious is a level 6 Dark Warrior monster with 800 attack and defense. You can banish this card from your graveyard, special summon 1 Destiny Hero Malicious from your deck. Malicious is a famously abusable card for his inherent replacement effect, giving you deck thinning, grave setup for a Dark Arm Dragon or other cards, and fodder for your extra deck plays, who you can play up to 3 times in a turn depending on the format. This card has bounced off and on the semi-limited list for years now, due to how abusable it is in certain formats. Hell, it's still widely used in the modern Dark Hero deck as Link fodder, which is a trait other decks covet him for as well. If there's an extra deck summoning mechanic, Malicious is there to abuse it. His high level also makes him the ideal target for Destiny Draw, which we'll get to later. Needless to say, Malicious is a game-defining card that almost every Yu-Gi-Oh player has either heard of or has an opinion on by now. Now, our next trio of cards were technically used by Aster in the anime, but didn't end up seeing print until well after the show's ending. But in the interest of separating the GX era cards from the Arc V cards, we'll just cover them here. Though these are technically legacy support, kind of. Destiny Hero Celestial is a level 4 Dark Warrior with 1600 attack and 1400 defense. When this card declares an attack, you can target 1 face-up spell card your opponent controls, destroy it, and if you do, inflict 500 damage to your opponent. While you have no cards in your hand, except the turn this card is sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card and 1 Destiny Hero monster from your graveyard, draw 2 cards. You can only use this effect of Destiny Hero Celestial once per turn. Celestial was printed with a radically different effect from the anime, something I'm thankful for because honestly it makes it a much better card. It still sort of has its anime spell destruction effect, but that's more of a neat bonus given how you'd want to use him. The draw 2 was fantastic and great recovery if you're in a bad spot. Absolutely worth running at 2 or 3. Destiny Hero Dark Angel is a level 1 Dark Warrior monster with 0 attack and 0 defense. If you have 3 or more Destiny Hero monsters in your graveyard, you can discard this card, then target 1 Destiny Hero monster in your graveyard, special summon it to your opponent's field in defense mode. When a spell card or effect you activate resolves, negate that effect, and if you do, or if it did not have an effect, destroy that card. During your standby phase, you can banish this card and 1 Destiny Hero from your graveyard. Each player chooses 1 normal spell from their deck and places on top of their deck. Alright, I'll give this effect some leeway since it predates Link summoning by a small margin. And at that point, a free monster wasn't as likely to be tossed off the field so quickly. It's obviously meant to summon itself to the opponent's field to toy with them for a bit and negate their spell cards, but its usefulness in that regard went away as soon as Link's happened. The free spell card would be great in conjunction with, say, Diamond Dude, but giving a free card to your opponent really isn't that great of a trade-off for it. It's obviously a kind of half-hearted attempt at modernizing an ancient anime effect, but I think it's okay just leaving this one in the past. D-Cubed, or D-Cubic, is a level 1 Dark Machine monster with 0 attack and 0 defense. If this card is normal summoned, it is also treated as a Destiny Hero monster while face up on the field. You can only use each of the following effects of D cubed once per turn. You can discard up to 2 cards, special summon D cubed from your hand or deck and or graveyard, equal to the number of discarded cards. Also, for the rest of this turn, you cannot normal summon or special summon any monsters other than Destiny Heroes. If this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can send one Destiny Hero monster from your deck to the graveyard. It's like the Destiny Hero Rottweiler, but like, kinda better? Sort of? Hefty discard cost to summon extra copies, but hey, the deck has a lot of great grave setup cards, so you get some free fodder, but can only summon Destiny Heroes for the rest of the turn, so no Link plays. For the best, I guess. And at least it sets up for some of the main deck boss monsters, but I'd still pass on it. There are much more concise ways to set up your board. Hey, at least we know Aster's a cat person. The last main deck monster of the original wave is a big one. The ultimate D card. Destiny Hero Plasma. He's a level 8 Dark Warrior monster with 1900 attack and 600 defense. He cannot be normal summoned or set. He must be special summoned from your hand by tributing 3 monsters. Negate the effects of face-up monsters while your opponent controls them. Once per turn, you can target 1 monster your opponent controls, equip that target to this card, maximum of 1. This card gains attack equal to half the original attack of the monster equipped to it. What can you really say about Plasma? He's Wingman's goth cousin who stole relinquished effects, gives a localized skill drain to your opponent's board, and has the summoning conditions of an Egyptian god. Depending on the state of the game, this is either amazing or just okay. I personally always adored this guy. He's everything a boss monster should be. Flashy, hard to deal with, and carries a major presence when in play. Plasma lockdown decks had their place back in the day, and you still see some teching into modern hero decks now. You really can't go wrong with the Ultimate D. Our only Destiny Hero fusion card of the old days is not even a Destiny Hero, technically. Destiny End Dragoon is a level 10 Dark Warrior with 3000 attack and defense, and he requires Plasma and Dogma. A fusion summon of this card can only be conducted with his above materials. Once per turn, you can target 1 monster your opponent controls. Destroy that target. If it was face up, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the attack it had on the field. You cannot conduct your battle phase the turn you activate this effect. Once per turn, during your standby phase, if this card is in your graveyard, you can banish 1 Destiny Hero, special summon this card. Well, I can think of a much more annoying Dragoon people could fusion summon, but for what he is, Dragoon is a fun card to mess around with. Thankfully, his summon is insanely easy these days, thanks to an archetypal fusion card we'll cover a little bit later. His revival effect isn't all that bad, and the destruction burn hasn't aged all too well, but he's still a really fun, over-the-top card, befitting of a fusion of 2 of Aster's most notable boss monsters. Our last group of monsters takes us to the far future. Oh shit, is that Captain Gold? Some of these came from the Arc 5 version of Aster, but a couple were also just thought up from scratch, but we'll cover them all as one group anyway. Destiny Hero Drill Dark is a level 4 Dark Warrior monster with 1600 attack and 1200 defense. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can special summon 1 Destiny Hero monster from your hand with attack less than or equal to this card's attack on the field. You can only use this effect of Destiny Hero Drill Dark once per turn. If this card attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing damage. True to form, he's more or less a better version of Elemental Hero Solid Soldier, only restricted to his own archetype. A double summoner is pretty handy when you're trying to bring out Plasma or Dogma, and he can also help set up for Link or Rank 4 XYZ plays. Personally, he's a 3-off from me. Destiny Hero Dynatag is a level 5 Dark Warrior with 1000 attack and defense, and during damage calculation, when you would take battle damage, quick effect, you can discard this card, make yourself take no battle damage from that battle, and if you do, each player takes 1000 damage. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 1 Destiny Hero monster you control, gains 1000 attack until the end of your opponent's next turn. I have mixed feelings for this one. The Dark Hero meta deck seems to really like him, but personally, all I see is a mediocre hand trap that helps proc the effect of 1 fusion monster. Even then, there are better cards for that, as we'll see in a few. He can go in the "you tried" corner with Blade Master. Destiny Hero Decider is a level 4 Dark Warrior monster with 1600 attack and 1000 defense. Level 6 or higher monster your opponent controls cannot target this card for attacks. You can only use each of the following effects of Destiny Hero Decider once per duel. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can add 1 hero monster from your graveyard to your hand during the end phase of this turn. When a card or effect is activated that would inflict damage to you, while this card is in your graveyard, quick effect, return this card to your hand, and if you do, you can make that effect damage 0. He's a funky little guy, I'll give him that. I don't really see the point of the whole level 6 attack blocking that he's got going on, but I actually really like his first effect. A delayed recovery option is still recovery, even if his once per duel clause feels kind of unnecessary considering you're getting it in the end phase. His second effect will rarely see you any use, but I guess it doesn't hurt that he has it. He's a one-off. Would be too if he wasn't a hard once per duel. Destiny Hero Dreamer is a level 1 Dark Warrior with 0 attack and 600 defense. During damage calculation, if your Destiny Hero monster battles and this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card, and if you do, your monster cannot be destroyed by that battle. Also, you take no battle damage from that battle. If summoned this way, banish this card when it leaves the field. You can only use this effect of Destiny Hero Dreamer once per turn. This is a Performage monster that got mixed in with a Karibo, not a Destiny Hero. But aside from that, he's fine, I guess. I don't really think he's worth running over the other Destiny heroes personally, but if you really wanted an archetypal Destiny hero Necro Gardener, go for it. Our last main deck monster of the day is Destiny Hero Drawhand. He's a level 4 Dark Warrior monster with 1600 attack and 800 defense. If this card is special summoned by the effect of a hero monster, you can make each player draw 1 card. During the next standby phase, after this card was sent to the graveyard, you can special summon this card from your graveyard, but banish it when it leaves the field. You can only use each effect of Destiny Hero Drawhand once per turn. Aesthetically, he's obviously meant to fit in with the GX era Destiny heroes, but honestly, I don't see the appeal with his effect. A reviving draw card sounds nice on paper, but that's what we have Disc Commander for. It may not be once per duel, but at least you don't give the opponent your pluses too. Maybe if this came out way back in the day, that wouldn't be too big a deal, but giving a free card to your opponent is not a great idea in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Unless you're playing stall decks that need draw power, or are overextending so far you've gone off the table and are playing on the floor. Honestly, a waste of a great card design if you ask me. We're finally at the Modern Extra deck lineup, and it's a lot more substantial than the one card we had before. Destiny Hero Dystopia is a level 8 Dark Warrior monster with 2800 attack and 2400 defense, and he requires 2 Destiny Hero monsters. If this card is special summoned, you can target 1 level 4 or lower Destiny Hero monster in your graveyard and inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's attack. If this card's current attack is different from its original attack, except during the damage step, quick effect, you can target 1 card on the field and destroy it. And if you do, this card's attack reverts back to its original attack. You can only use this effect once per turn. Dystopia was sort of Aster's boss monster for Arc 5, and he's why Dynatag has that weird attack shifting effect. There's plenty of cards coming up with similar attack altering effects, so his quick effect popping ability is actually a lot more usable than it may seem at first. I personally really like this guy, and he's a staple among modern fusion focus variants. Destiny Hero Dusktopia, aside from being a reject member of the number family I guess, is a level 10 Dark Warrior monster with 3000 attack and 3000 defense. He requires 1 Destiny Hero Fusion monster and 1 Destiny Hero monster. If this card is fusion summoned, you can fusion summon 1 fusion monster from your extra deck using materials from your hand and field as fusion material. Once per turn, quick effect, you can target 1 monster on the field, make it unable to be destroyed by battle or card effects, and if you do, neither player takes any battle damage from attacks involving that monster until the end phase of this turn. Honestly, when I was looking at this card again for this video, I realized it's a lot more usable than I originally would have given it credit for. Destiny Hero can go into fusions pretty easily these days, and while its inherent poly effect isn't all that handy if you've already dropped all your resources into playing him, the protection effect actually has some decent utility for modern Yu-Gi-Oh! It's kind of like a quick effect localized Dreadmaster. I'd say he's worth a one-off if you feel like it. We're stepping away from Arc 5 at long last with Destiny Hero Dangerous.
Let's get dangerous.
He's a level 6 Dark Warrior with 2000 attack and 2600 defense. He requires 1 Destiny Hero monster and 1 Dark Effect monster. Quick effect, you can discard 1 card, send 1 Destiny Hero monster from your hand or deck to the graveyard, and if you do, Destiny Hero monsters you control gain 200 attack for each Destiny Hero in your graveyard until the end of this turn. You can only use this effect once per turn. I mean, he's alright I guess. The grave setup isn't bad, and you power up your field closer to OTK range if you're late enough in the game. He doesn't really blow me out of the water though, so I'd say he's really only a one-off if you feel like it. Our final fusion monster is Destiny Hero Dominance. He's a level 10 Dark Warrior with 2900 attack and 2600 defense. He requires 3 Destiny Hero monsters. During your main phase, you can look at the top 5 cards of either your or your opponent's deck and then reorder them in any order you choose. When this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you draw 1 card. If this fusion summon card is destroyed by battle or card effect, You can target 3 level 9 or lower Destiny Hero monsters with different names in your graveyard and special summon them. You can only use each effect once per turn. Now here's a modern Destiny Hero worthy of hanging out with the boss monster gang. Dominance is true to his name. He's big, he's bold, and he demands attention when he's on the board. He's got a decent attack stat and that wonderful variety of interesting and unique card effects that made Destiny Heroes famous. Stacking decks can either potentially disrupt your opponent or clue you into what they're using before their turn even starts, or you could set up your own deck for combo extending or hell, even Diamond Dude's effect. And when he's destroyed by any means, you can revive 3 Destiny Heroes from the graveyard to take his place. He's a really awesome card, and he feels like he would be right at home being played by Aster in the original anime. Next up, we have a Link monster, Extra Hero Cross Crusader. He's a Dark Warrior with 1600 attack and 2 downward-facing arrows on left and right. He requires 2 Warrior monsters, and if this card is Link summoned, you can target 1 Destiny Hero monster in your graveyard, special summon it. You can tribute 1 Destiny Hero monster, add 1 Hero monster with a different name from your deck to your hand. You can only use each effect of Extra Hero Cross Crusader once per turn. Also, you cannot special summon monsters the turn you activate either of this card's effects except hero monsters. Yeah, even Destiny Heroes got their own specific Link monster. But for what he's worth though, he's a pretty good one. He revives a Destiny Hero on summon and lets you tribute one you control for an extra search. You can get some pretty cool combos going with this, and it makes him a vital piece of pure Destiny Hero decks, even if the Link arrows are no longer needed as of Master 05. Our last monster today is Extra Hero Dread Decimator. He's a Dark Warrior with 2500 attack and his 3 downward-facing Link arrows. He requires 2+ hero monsters, and he gains 100 attack for every different hero monster in your graveyard, and he can also apply this effect to any monsters he points to. Also, he inflicts piercing damage. Now, I know what you're thinking. This isn't a Destiny Hero support card. And you're right, but seeing as he released in a Destiny Hero themed set, his overall design, and his name, he's an honorary member of the Destiny Hero family in my eyes. During Link format, he was really good for his Link markers, and he synergizes pretty well with Dystopia's effect. Basically, he's just a big blunt instrument for hero decks, and I think that works best for Destiny Heroes anyway. He's not really vital anymore, but still a good tech. Jeez, all that, we still have nearly 20 cards left to cover. Let's not waste any time and jump right back into it with the spell cards. The second field spell, continuing from Clock Tower Prison near the start, is Dark City. When a Destiny Hero monster attacks, if its attack is lower than the attack of the attack target, the attacking monster gains 1000 attack during damage calculation only. Try saying that 5 times fast. It's Skyscraper. It's Skyscraper for Destiny Heroes. That means it's about as useful as Skyscraper, meaning not that much these days. Hell, even Skyscraper got some legacy support to make it better. If you're gonna run a field spell, you should probably just use Clock Tower. You'll probably have more fun with it anyway. Over Destiny states, you can target 1 Destiny Hero monster in your graveyard, special summon 1 Destiny Hero monster from your deck, whose level is less than or equal to half of the attack target's level, but destroy it during the end phase of this turn. It's interesting. I could maybe see some combos with this thing if you think you have the space for it, but there are more effective ways of doing what this thing does. Still, for what it is, not bad. D-Spirit states you can special summon 1 level 4 or lower Destiny Hero monster from your hand, but you cannot control any face-up Destiny Hero monsters to activate and resolve this effect. This card reeks of 2006. I mean, it helps set up for Plasma a bit, I guess, but this has long since been power crept out of any kind of relevance. Destiny Draw. Discard 1 Destiny Hero card and draw 2 cards. Here it is, what you've all been waiting for, the top dog of archetypal draw cards. This thing is so good that it's half the reason Malicious is as dangerous as he is. Any deck that runs him gets access to a setup card with an added Pot of Greed effect for good measure, and it also works with Diamond Dude's effect. This card has been meta-defining, especially back in the day when Teledad was king. I shouldn't even have to explain why you should max out on this thing in a pure Destiny Hero build. Our first and only equip spell is Cyclone Blade, or Heavy Storm Blade in the anime. Equip only to a Destiny Hero monster. At the start of the damage step, if the equipped monster attacked, target 1 spell or trap card on the field, destroy that target. Yeah, I'm not a fan. This sort of effect is fine as a bonus on Celestial, but as a dedicated equip card, not so much. If this was an equipped version of the Malevolent Catastrophe effect, like it was in the anime, we may have something more to say here. But we don't. Our first and only continuous spell is Deformation. Each time a face-up Destiny Hero monster you control is destroyed, place 1 D counter on this card for each of those monsters. When you normal or special summon a monster during your main phase, you can send this card with 2 or more D counters to the graveyard. Add up to 2 cards from your deck and or graveyard to your hand with the same name as that monster. Well, this is one fine hot mess of a card, isn't it? The conditions on this thing for just trying to search 2 extra cards that may no longer even be in your deck is pretty damn steep. And that's assuming it even sticks around long enough to get that off. We have better searchers than this. We always have. Our last spell card is Fusion Destiny. Fusion summon 1 fusion monster from your extra deck that lists a Destiny Hero monster as material, using monsters from your hand or deck as fusion material, but destroy it during the end phase of the next turn. Also, for the rest of the turn after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters, except Dark Hero monsters. You can only activate 1 Fusion Destiny per turn. Now, this card is pretty great. It's like Anime Future Fusion, and it can summon out pretty much your whole fusion lineup at the cost of having it be destroyed by the end of the next turn. Even with that, it was basically designed with dominance, and yes, even Dragoon in mind, with how his summon is literally depicted on the artwork. This is a great card, but the drawback that's barely a drawback considering the effects of the cards you play with it. It's a 2 to 3, for sure. Moving on to the trap lineup, we actually have the very first Destiny card ever played in a duel. D-Time. When a face-up elemental hero monster you control leaves the field, add 1 Destiny Hero monster from your deck to your hand whose level is less than or equal to that elemental hero monster's original level. There's a universe out there somewhere, where hand traps never took off as hard as they did, and this card is actually kinda useful in modern Dark Hero. Its effect, while odd for the time, is strangely aged kinda well, given the mix-match nature of hero decks today. Despite that, it's a little too slow to be really that useful. What a shame. Guess you won't be having any D-time with your opponent after all. D-Shield is a normal trap, and when an attack position Destiny Hero monster you control is targeted for an attack, target it, change it to defense position, and equip it with this card. The equipped monster cannot be destroyed by battle. Honestly, another case of a half-decently aged card. It's just a shame that battle protection isn't nearly as useful as it once was. The same, unfortunately, cannot be said for D-Chain. It's a normal trap, and it can target a Destiny Hero monster you control and equip this card to it. It gains 500 attack. When it destroys an opponent's monster by battle, inflict 500 damage to your opponent. This is so much. Hey, 2003 called. It wants Kunai with Chain back. Like, if any card here screams random GX anime support card, it's this one. Destiny Signal is a normal trap, and when the monster you control is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, special summon 1 level 4 lower Destiny Hero from your hand or deck. It's just Hero Signal for Destiny Heroes. Honestly, it's not even as useful, since unlike Hero Signal, it doesn't really have any optimal targets for its effect. With Hero Signal, you can still drop a Stratos, a Shadow Mist, or even an Ocean or Woodsman if you're feeling bold, and still get something out of it. It really just exists to parallel the E-Heroes, and that's it. Eternal Dread is a normal trap card, and it lets you place 2 clock counters on each clock tower prison. I mean, it's bad, but that's kind of par for the course with cards like this. You're better off just stalling out with other cards while you wait for clock tower to advance. As impossible as that may sound nowadays. Waste of a really cool art, too. A Destiny Mirage is a normal trap. When a Destiny Hero monster you control is destroyed and sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, special summon to your side of the field all Destiny Hero monsters that were destroyed and sent to either graveyard this turn. Wait, does that mean you could take your opponent's Destiny Heroes with it? Huh. Well, that's different. It's a Destiny counterpart of an Elemental Hero card, that being Elemental Mirage, which was never printed. This thing feels so damn weird because of that. Like, it got on the wrong bus or something and ended up being made by accident. For what it is, it's situational at best. D-Counter reads, when a Destiny Hero monster you control is targeted for an attack, destroy the attacking monster. Ah, I see. The slightly less incompetent Sakaretsu armor. This one must be the counterpart to Clay Charge, obviously. D-Fortune states, when your opponent declares a direct attack, banish 1 Destiny Hero monster from your graveyard to end the battle phase. Ah, and here's their hero barrier. Just play Negate Attack, or Storming Mirror Force, or anything else. We once again jump a little bit forward into the future with D-Fusion. No, not D-Fusion, D-Fusion. Confused yet? No, you see, this one's different. It's red and says Trap card on it. I know, it could fool anyone. Fusion summon 1 fusion monster from your extra deck, using monsters you control as fusion material, and if you do, it cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects this turn. Only Destiny Hero monsters can be used as fusion material for a fusion summon using this card's effect. Whose idea was this? Whose idea was it to give Destiny Heroes a trap card version of polymerization without anything extra for your trouble aside from some meager protection? Who hurt you? Mr. Phoenix, did you do this? Our final card is also the only continuous trap card, D-Tactics. During the standby phase, you can have all hero monsters you control gain 400 attack, even if this card leaves the field. If a level 8 or higher Destiny hero monster, or Destiny and Dragoon, is special summoned to your field except during the damage step, you can banish one card from your opponent's hand at random, field, or graveyard. If this card in the spell and trap card zone is destroyed by a card effect, you can add one Destiny hero monster from your deck to your hand. You can only use each effect of D-Tactics once per turn. This is a fun trap card. It brings all aspects of the archetype together perfectly. It supports Dystopia's effect with attack gain, it gives you a randomized Trishula every time you play one of their old boss monsters, it's even a Destiny version of Yee-Call if it gets destroyed. Trap cards may be considered slow these days, but if you're gonna run one, let this be the one. I also just love the artwork. It's nice seeing all the classic Destiny heroes together in a group action shot. It's a fun card, and a great one to end on. Oh man, that was a lot. So, let's review. Destiny Hero has always been a bit of a loner among the hero subtypes, with most of its support really only working internally without too much of the cross-archetype support that the others started leaning into over the years. At the start, though, they really struggled to operate as anything other than an engine to other decks. They've got a long history of producing meta-relevant cards, both in and out of the hero family, but what they've gotten in recent years has really helped push them into being a viable deck in their own right. They're very reflective of the comic book anti-heroes that inspired them, often being a more popular choice over their colorful counterparts for their flexible card effects and consistent engine. Mix that in with being used by a fan-favorite character like Aster Phoenix, and you've got yourself a recipe for a long-lasting and popular group of cards. I can only hope the rest of the hero subtypes eventually learn from their example and try to stand out a bit more on their own again as time moves on. Like the man said, you can't hide from destiny. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the new video. It was very hard to put together, about as hard as the first one, honestly, maybe even a bit harder. But I had a lot to say. I think I don't know if this one will be as funny because there's just not as many shit cards. When you compare it to Elemental Hero Classic, the old school Destiny heroes generally have like more coherent effects. The whole thing with the fact that I lumped in Modern, I was originally going to do this as 2 separate videos, but I figured once I realized that the legacy support for Destiny heroes wasn't all that big of a list, I decided to just throw them in, so that added like an extra 10, 11, 12 cards to the whole thing. So I just put them here, but I'm a big fan of Aster. I'm a big fan of the Destiny heroes. I always loved Plasma as a kid, so I'm really happy I got to talk about them. There's more start to finish coming whenever. This one might put me out of commission for these for a little while. The next one you have to look forward to, whenever it gets done, will be Masked Heroes. And that will probably be a very short one, considering how many Masked Heroes there are. With that in mind, you guys, I hope you have a great day, and even better tomorrow, and get your game on!